Good morning, everybody. If you haven't been introduced to me before, my name is Melissa Stokes, and I'm the president here at Art of Homeownership, which basically means I get to run the ship and try and make our product and our team and our service better for all of you guys all the time. And if you didn't join us 2 weeks ago, I'd also like to introduce Jack Huntress. Jack, did I say your last name right?
You did.
Okay, great. Jack's calling in from Massachusetts, and he is the co-founder and CEO of HomeBinder, which is our newest vendor partner at Art of Homeownership. And he'll be walking us through the HomeBinder platform. If you were with us 2 weeks ago, I think he's going to go a little bit more in depth than what we saw during that session. And a lot of that is just based on your guys' feedback. Our partner services team has been working with Jack to get him your questions, things that you want to see from a technical perspective in the system. And so we're really excited that he has offered to join us again and take a deeper dive before we launch this next week, which is so exciting. So now that I've functionally stalled for a couple minutes, I'm going to be here just answering some high-level questions that we've been getting to our support inbox around the change of vendors from House Happy to HomeBinder around our HomeBinder partnership. So I'll start off with why we're doing this. Change is hard. It's hard, it's uncomfortable, it's work for us, it's work for you. But really, based on partner feedback, we started looking into a different option for our home maintenance, home concierge promise. And that was probably around 6 months ago that we started doing that. And the reason we did that was to look for something that was more consistent, more readily available to all clients across the country, in line with feedback we've received. And we've spent a good amount of time on our evaluation. We've been working closely with HomeBinder to make sure that their offerings match the core commitments that we have put forward to your clients, your users. And like, despite the challenges of transition and the impact there, we as a team are unanimous in this decision, and we fully believe that partnering with HomeBinder is going to be the best for you and your clients. So I'm going to go more in depth on a couple questions, but if your questions don't get answered today in this webinar, and you want to spend some more time talking to someone on our team about that, I am going to drop my contact information in the chat, and anyone's welcome to reach out to me, and I'll spend some time on the phone with you if you feel like you have a concern that wasn't answered today. So the next big question is related to the home inspection. Our last partner, House Happy, had a component of their program where a service professional of some kind could be scheduled to go to clients' homes and do an inspection of their house. I think that Jack put that in a really or explained that type of offering really well last week when he said that it's incredibly hard to do at scale, which is what we've seen as we've grown as a company, as your companies have grown, as our relationship with House Happy changed. We were able to receive more feedback on that feature, and it wasn't necessarily positive or being executed with a degree of accuracy and excellence. And so due to that, the marketing that our clients were receiving around that offering was consistently not aligned with what they were being provided. And we did not want that inconsistency attributed to our brand or your brands. Ultimately, we are a long-term relationship business. We're trying to help you maintain trusted relationships with your past clients and prospects. lifelong. And so we don't want any bad service experiences happening for your clients. So last week, towards the end of the week, some of you may have received an email from House Happy. We've received a decent amount of questions about that. That email, we believe, was intended to invite you to keep your account with them if you want to. We did not know that they were going to reach out to you. That was a decision that they made without our input. Again, we believe that they did it with the best intentions, that they want to give you the option to keep your account should you want to keep it. We are not mandating that at all. That is 100% up to you. We have received, in alignment with that, some questions around if people feel like if anyone needs to keep their House Happy account. And related to that, I think I just want to say that restate the obvious here. We're choosing to replace them as a vendor under our product. We're trying to be really respectful of everybody in this transition and everybody involved in this decision. But I do think it's important to recognize that in our position administrating this program on behalf of everybody, we've had access to feedback from over 400 partners and 200,000 homeowners. Not that everyone has given their feedback, but that's been our pool through which we have received feedback. And so we believe that that puts us in a little bit of a unique position to have just a visual into more of a global landscape. And, so with that, we hope that we're kind of in a position of trust to make this decision. However, if you do want to keep an individual account with House Happy, you're absolutely welcome to do so. It would be the same as any other vendor outside of Art of Homeownership that you choose to engage with. You deal with them directly. It won't be connected to your Art of Homeownership account anymore, but that doesn't mean that you can't include it in your post-close experience for clients. So if you do decide that you want to keep your account with House Happy, you can contact them directly. Their customer support email is cs@househappy.com. You can also respond to the email that they sent out last week or go to their website, and I'm sure there's a contact button there as well. So just contact them directly if you decide that you want to stick with them. And then the last question that I want to make sure we hit on is in relation to your clients who have already accepted accounts with House Happy. Any of your clients who already have a House Happy account can keep it. We have already paid for their accounts. They're not going to, it's a one-time fee kind of thing for them. And so the accounts won't be taken away from them. They can also receive a HomeBinder account or switch over to a HomeBinder account from their House Happy account if they would like. Our team has put together a invitation that you can send out to all your past clients in your database, inviting them to join HomeBinder. And that email is available in everyone's Daily AI account. If you decide you would like to intentionally send that email out to your everybody in your database, just contact support@artofhomeownership.com, and they'll send you a video with just a brief tutorial on how you can do it. It's just a few clicks, but the video always makes it easier. So contact them. They definitely want to help you. And with that, I will hand it over to Jack for today's presentation. We're so excited, Jack. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Melissa. We're really grateful for this opportunity, and it's a small ecosystem of players in the space of doing things similar to what we're doing. I certainly know the folks at House Happy, and I love their aspiration. I mean, I said this on the last call. I think ideally we would want. We went to market through home inspectors. In fact, we have hundreds of home inspectors all over the country that are truly professionals. They do this for a living. The idea of having a trained people in every market in the United States to be able to go into a home and collect this information and make it easy for homeowners is an awesome aspirational thing. And I think I would, for those of you that like that idea, I want you to know that I think about it all the time. I just don't know how to execute it at scale right now. I've watched companies with 20 to 30 times our resources not be able to pull it off. It's just really, really challenging. But aspirationally, I think that's a direction to go, because as you hear the HomeBinder story, you'll hear a story of automation. You'll hear a story of ease. You'll hear a story of centralization, and it all comes down to trying to take a lot of the work off the back of the homeowner. I'm going to start sharing a bit of a deck here that I have prepared, and we can certainly make available after this presentation. So know that the visuals will be here. The first part of this deck is going to be something that I am going to share, but I'm going to go through it far more rapidly than I went through 2 weeks ago. So with the idea that I'm providing a lot more detail on the heels of this, with the goal of keeping it within the time frame allotted today. So if you want to hear a little bit more about the philosophy, the strategy, some of the part up front with this about HomeBinder, please go back and listen to that recording that I understand will be made available to all of you. So that'll be the idea of getting to know HomeBinder from 10,000 feet. We'll then get into the world of what this process looks like of getting a HomeBinder account into the hands of a borrower, and some cool features and key takeaways at the end. So what I love to do is I just start with a visual. Like, let's not talk in the abstract first. Let's talk about, like, what is HomeBinder from the homeowner's perspective. So here is just a sample dashboard that a homeowner would have when they first logged in. And there's a few things that I've highlighted around the page. First, I use the phrase a lot. There's a place for everything, and everything has a place, whether it's projects or maintenance or service providers, everything down to the proverbial paint colors by room, as you'd find under property details. The second thing up is you'll find an evergreen to-do list, and that's right in the middle there. Now, this list evolves and changes over time throughout the ownership. So this will keep changing and suggesting things to them, reminding them of an overdue task, or maybe something we think that homeowners could take value from. On the right-hand side, you'll see a network supporting your ownership, as we often refer to it. And these are the professionals that are involved with you, the homeowner, in your home ownership journey. So who would you expect to have there? Your mortgage lender, your real estate agent, your insurance agent, all there. And then in the upper right, we'll talk a little bit about home value. There's two key pillars that we think about all the time: peace of mind and home value. Those are the two things that unequivocally homeowners come to us and say that they care about the most. I want to know that everything in my world of home ownership is well organized. I know where it is. I can access it at any time. I want to know that there's not a maintenance task that I forgot to do. I want peace of mind. And this is the biggest asset in my life. I'd like to kind of organize and know from a monetary standpoint how I'm doing there. Hence the interest of a lot of platforms that do home value. And we'll talk a little bit about our approach there. So those are the two pillars that are at the core here. There's a lot of analogies to describe HomeBinder, and they involve LinkedIn for the home. That would kind of represent the lower right. Ancestry.com for the home. Electronic health records for the home. Operating system for the home. They're all true. And I'll tie this in sort of to one more kind of just philosophical thing as it pertains to House Happy. HomeBinder is probably best described as an operating system for the home, a centralized, purpose-built piece of software for the homeowner to organize and manage everything about their home in one spot, supported by all industries surrounding homeownership. And while we don't do the service line of it, in other words, having people go do things, we think about ways how we can bring all this together seamlessly across all of these aspects of homeownership. And again, I'm going to go kind of quick through this front part so I can get deep into the deck, but there's more description in the other Zoom video. What it means is we've built integrations across a number of vertical markets supporting homeownership, where every action between the homeowner and a business, there's an opportunity to centralize what just happened in the HomeBinder account for the homeowner. You're familiar with the mortgage industry? Let's take it to the insurance space. I, as the homeowner, say, man, where's my insurance policy? I'd love to have access to it. Oh, it's in my HomeBinder account. How did it get there? It got there through an integration, just like my mortgage docs were pushed into my HomeBinder account at the point of my closing. We've talked about this idea of home value and peace of mind as our big pillars. We've talked about this idea of a centralized management platform, and an important note that HomeBinder is only offered through authorized professionals. We are 100% B2B2C. Homeowners cannot sign up for HomeBinder on their own. They have to get it through a business. We have some guiding principles. The homeowner is our true north. So we often ask the question as we sit around developing or thinking about features, if a homeowner was sitting at the table with us, would they like that idea or not? And generally, to always, that's going to dictate whether or not we decide something's a good or bad idea. From a philosophical perspective, just thinking about how we approach things. Home value is a focal point. Homeowners care about it. B2B2C is such a core strategy that homeowners can't get it on their own. We're integration first. You saw all those integrations across the board. We've worked hard over the last 10 years to build all these integrations out to make the process easy of centralizing home information. And we feel it's critical to be in the buy and sell side. So we think about, how does every buyer of a home get a HomeBinder account? How do all these home actions get logged? And ultimately, where does the Carfax for the home appear? Well, you'll see more later in the deck, but the idea that every buyer of a home is seeing a seller report. These are all things that you might expect a home OS to do, a home operating system to do, and HomeBinder does all of them, among other things. And one thing we'll do today as we get deeper in the deck is I'll go into some detail with screens and examples of how these things work. A key aspect of HomeBinder are maintenance reminders. And these are, of course, branded with your information. You are supporting homeowners. This is beyond the loan closing. How are we supporting the journey of home ownership, creating a client for life experience, truly driving the art of home ownership, the best of breed for how a homeowner would expect to operate their home in 2022 and beyond. A monthly email that would include things like overdue items and their adaptive home value estimate. And this is based on not just an AVM, but what's going on inside their binder. So there's lots of other AVMs out there that are pulling numbers, but they often don't know what's gone inside the home. In our world, as soon as a homeowner completes a $30,000 kitchen renovation, a portion of that is automatically going to be applied to their home value. And they get that. It's almost a gamification of this process of home value. So with that that is the setup. Let's talk a little bit about the workflow, which we did not cover much on the last call. There's going to be 5 parts to this, and I'll kind of cover them on 5 slides sequentially right after this. But the most probably important thing you should know coming off of today is where you can message HomeBinder in your workflow process and how you message it. And it starts really, really early. Ideally, you're saying, if you come with us and you do a loan with us, you're going to get a HomeBinder account. You can't get it off the street. You have to come through a business, and we're one of those businesses. So it's way up front in the sales process. And that includes with real estate agents. That includes with any direct-to-consumer, retail, brick and mortar that you're doing, advertising. It is about way up in the process, and then it carries all the way through to the point of the loan closing.
Jack, can you hear us okay? I think we lost you for a second.
I can hear you.
Okay, you're back now. You're back.
Okay. Sorry if my audio cut out.
No, you're good. It was just a few seconds.
All right. So again, walking through these 5 steps, an email goes out, the borrower clicks on the link takes them to a page, they type in their basic information, name, property address, email, and then they're dropped into their dashboard. So let's just look at these in a little more detail. These are the messaging points that we'll come back to on some subsequent calls. We'd love to do one-on-ones with all of you. We talked about that before. A link will be distributed again for you to schedule those with us, but we can get into some more detail here. But this is about messaging HomeBinder way up front in the home in the process prior to them actually becoming your customer, your borrower, on the website with real estate agents, in the sales process, right to the point that they're committed to you as a borrower. And then deeper in the loan process, we're reminding them that they're getting a HomeBinder account, and it'll come thereabouts around closing. And that is going to come to them via a link. So these are some messaging points that I think are really important procedurally up to the point just before we're giving them that link for the first time. The link will come out in an email that, representative will look something like this. The homeowner will then click on that link, and it will be unique to all of you. They'll be taken to a page that'll be co-branded with the Art of Home Ownership. where they'll be able to sign up and get their HomeBinder account for the first time. That will then open the platform up for them, and they'll be able to pick a password. Once they pick a password, they'll be dropped to their dashboard. So I went through that pretty quick. Again, we'll provide these slides after, but it's a really straightforward process of clicking on a link, landing on a registration page, entering their information, and then being given access where they can pick a password and get in for the first time. From your perspective as a loan officer, you'll be able to log into HomeBinder with a different view. It'll be more of a dashboard view. It will show all of your borrowers that have signed up to get a HomeBinder account, and you can see that on the screen here. Notably, you won't be able to get into their HomeBinder account. So this is a key point about our system. While you can see who set up a binder, while there'll be some analytics of how often people are opening maintenance reminders, engaging with the tool, it's their private place, just like a homeowner would want, because they may be storing sensitive documents. Keep in mind, it's for all of home management, not just their mortgage docs, it's for everything. And they could be doing something even like home inventory or recording any other sensitive items with regards to their home. You'll be able to see it here, but you won't actually be able to go into their account. So let's get into HomeBinder messaging for a second here.
Jack, can I interrupt you real quick? Because there's a question. I just want to make sure it's relevant to whatever we're going over.
Let's do it.
So James had asked, does the borrower/buyer add the realtor and insurance, etc.?
They do. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a great question. In fact, you know what? I'm going to just kind of skip forward to a slide right now because I have that in here. And I was wondering if I should include it or not, but I did. And here it is. So, in fact, this happens all day long. And the reason I bring it up is twofold. One is because it does happen, and the homeowners can come in and add, and this is just the last few days of homeowners adding these people to their binders, other folks, but you, the lender, may find yourself getting a notification from a previous client of yours over the last couple of years that maybe was given a binder by somebody else, and we've improved the workflow for them to add. So now we're seeing an accelerated rate of homeowners adding, this was my mortgage lender, this is my insurance professional, and then you get an email that looks something like this and you're right. So the inverse can be true as well. They can add those people, and they can also add you if they weren't hearing about HomeBinder for the first time. They ended up getting HomeBinder from their home inspector or from their insurance agent.
Great. And then Ryan also asked, can spouses or partners have access to the same binder?
They can. You can share the binder with a family member or a spouse.
Great. Edgardo asked, can we sign them up? I'm not sure who he's referring to.
Yes. So I'm gonna usually when we get that question, it means, hey, if I'm in here, I'm in my account, can I just go ahead and sign them up automatically? And the answer is yes. You will be able to come into the account once you've logged in, click on create binder and create a binder for them. Now, we do have, and this could be a whole nother conversation. We do have some professionals that truly curate the whole thing. They don't put it in the hands of the homeowner. They create the binder. They go in, they load in docs. They even, collect other information about the home and truly fill it out to the best degree they can before they transfer it. We're talking mostly about a process right now that's automating it, giving it to the homeowner, letting them do their thing. But there is that opportunity to spin it up for them, load in whatever you want for them, and then transfer it to them a bit more fully formed.
Cool. That's awesome. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, great question.
Melissa, did you want to, there was a question about the differences, the key differences between HomeBot and HomeBinder. Did you want to tackle that?
Yeah, so first, I know Jack was in the middle of his presentation. So Jack, what's the best way for us to get all of the information that you prepared to share with us today and also answer questions? Should we answer questions at the end or go with it now since we're here right now?
I'm sensing that I've done pretty well with prepping, given the nature of the questions so far. So I think we're going to cover a lot of these topics. So it might be for efficiency standpoint, for a recording standpoint, it'd be good to just go through. But I would say if there's something that's, you read that's just a question, don't hesitate to just interrupt me and we'll go at it. But definitely we'll come back to the home value, home bot piece again as we get deeper in the deck.
Okay, great. Yeah. Since we're here and we've already made a gap, I'll hop in and answer. Cheryl asked a question about adding real estate agents into the HomeBinder who aren't members of Art of Homeownership. Cheryl, that's absolutely fine. The real estate Art of Homeownership offering is if the real estate agent wants Art of Homeownership with their branding completely on it. That is a totally separate thing from you absolutely should be leveraging Art of Homeownership to partner with realtors in any way that you can. You should be adding them to your home bot, like inviting them to invite all of their clients to your Art of Homeownership, whether or not the realtor is involved, inviting them to participate in HomeBinder. Art of Homeownership encourages that, not a problem whatsoever. And then since we were on the enrollment piece, Jack, we also got one question from Sherman about bulk uploading clients. And I believe, yes, you can upload them via a CSV and send out invitations from HomeBinder directly. Yeah, great.
Yep.
Thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah, and we're happy to do that too. I mean, we're here to help do, this is a group. And what's exciting, of course, partnering with you is we're dealing with true high performers across the industry that aren't, doing onesie twosies. We understand that this is your job. You take it seriously, and you have some volume behind it. So whatever we can do to make this transition easy for you, whether it's marketing, messaging, or process workflow, just please lean on us. We're here to help.
And for everyone on that topic too, we spend a lot of time at Art of Homeownership trying to make the different tools seem consistent and have them all housed in one place. And so in the next month, we will be launching a mobile app for clients where they can access all of the features in one place. And that's generally our preference, is to give clients a single spot where they can look at all the different options available to them under your Art of Homeownership platform and let them pick what they want to participate in. However, as Jack mentioned, the opting them in for them, uploading them into each individual tool is always an option.
Yeah, absolutely. Then really what happens is you create them, you create the binder, you click transfer, and at that point, then they get a notification via email that says, hey, this person at this entity has set you up with a HomeBinder account, click here to access it. And they just start deep in that process effectively. They skip 1, 2, and 3. We're just at step 4 and 5 because they're just picking a password and being dropped into the HomeBinder account. So a little bit about HomeBinder messaging, and honestly, although we're covering a lot today, I kind of lean on this next slide as like maybe being the most important slide, because this is what homeowners need to hear. And this comes working with literally thousands and thousands of partners across multiple vertical markets in effectively every state and in the United States and every province in Canada where we have customers. These 3 things need to get done or said in this process. Otherwise, HomeBinder comes from left field. The borrower, the client, the customer doesn't really understand what it is, and it falls flat because it doesn't have they don't have the context when that email arrives. So the 3 parts to this stump speech, if you will, for HomeBinder is first explaining HomeBinder in your own way, and hopefully through this process today, watching a couple of other videos, you will get very comfortable at doing that in a couple of sentences. Hey, we're giving you a HomeBinder account. HomeBinder is a total home management platform. It will organize and manage everything about your home. It'll send you maintenance reminders. It'll send you appliance recalls. Heck, you can track everything down in paint colors by room, including storing all your mortgage docs. It'll really be a great friend for you in your home ownership. You have to find some way to say it that's comfortable to you, that resonates with you, that's authentic, but in a way that the borrower is going to, quote unquote, get it, what HomeBinder is. The second thing is that there's no cost to them and they can't get it on their own. And both of these are important things. Oh, you're giving this to me, but then I have to pay for it? Well, no, there is not There's no cost to you. We are covering the cost of it. And you can't get it off the street. You have to go through professionals, and we're a company that does it. And then the third part is remind them that the email, the link is headed their way. If these three things are said across the board, across different vertical markets supporting home ownership, homeowners engage with HomeBinder. And if they're not said in some way, shape, or form, things fall flatter. So we want to be here to support you with the text, videos, flyers, whatever it is, so that this can be conveyed to your borrower customers. We do that through a bunch of marketing material. This is a document that's in your accounts right now and will be redistributed both through Art of Homeownership and directly in any way we can. We want to make sure you are empowered with the marketing material that you need to be successful here. So one of the things that came out of the last call that we had was we'd love to go deeper. I'd love to know more about what HomeBinder is. What are some features that happen in the system? We've already covered some of them, and I'm going to go into more of them now. So one of the questions was, can homeowners get multiple binders? Yes, you as a homeowner, when you log in, you don't see a dashboard view. You're not a business, but you can see multiple accounts. You may have your main house, you may have a guest house, you may have your in-laws house, and you could have received HomeBinder through different professionals who set you up with it or set them up with it, and they're sharing it with you. So under one set of credentials as a homeowner, you can have multiple HomeBinder accounts. This is where we'll talk a little bit about adaptive home value. I will reference sort of the HomeBot thing, but let's talk about it in the context of an operating system for a home would be remiss without home value. It needs it. Across the board, when you talk to homeowners, they expect that HomeBinder would do something like this. So what we've done is we've done a little bit of an approach that makes it a bit different and a bit unique, so that they understand, well, this isn't Zestimate, or this isn't HomeBot, or this isn't something else I'm getting. It's a number that's like that, but I see that it's also factoring things I have done or not done in the home around home improvements, appliances, and maintenance credits. And all of these are shifting dynamically over time based on, am I all caught up on my maintenance? Have I just bought a brand new appliance? Did I just complete a renovation in the house or an addition or put on a patio? Any one of these things can have an effect on the home value. Now, they're not getting dollar for dollar, of course, for what they put in and record as a project, but it does show up here, and we give that sort of broad transparency to this. Ultimately, the message is, if you really want to know the value of your home, you should reach out to a professional, a mortgage lender, or your real estate agent to get that answer accurately. But this can give you some sense of whether or not you're ready to be thinking about some type of home equity or refinancing event down the road. We have integrated with Mortgage Coach. I won't go into it in a lot of depth today, but here is an example of what the screen looks like if you are a Mortgage Coach user. And if you also use Mortgage Coach, you can put in those credentials, and then your binders that get set up will also see this side by side with home value. Otherwise, if you are not, this part of the screen is just not there. Effectively, the left side carries across the whole screen. Again, we can come back to more home value if people have questions. One of the things that comes up a lot is, well, what about owning and selling a home? Yes, it would totally make sense that if you have all your information centralized, you want to be able to take that information and share it with a potential buyer of a home someday. So while your HomeBinder account is private, only to you, only the people that you have given access to, say a spouse, you can at any point generate a seller report, which is a public-facing web page, effectively, of detail that's contained inside your HomeBinder account, but not everything. In other words, you're not going to put your mortgage docs in this. You're not going to put your home inventory in this, but you will put appliances, home improvements, people you've hired over time, and why don't we just jump over and look at one of those real time? So here's an example of a public-facing seller report. This URL is unblocked. It can be shared with the listing pages, sent to a listing agent, sent to an appraiser, but this is public facing, and I, as the seller, have decided I want to share this information. Who did what, when they did it. I often talk about some examples of my first experience with a water softening system. I didn't know if I should use the yellow bags or I should use the green bags. I've never had a septic tank before. What is that thing? Who do I call? What improvements were done? If I have a question about central air, I should know that Mancini Heating and Cooling did the work, and below I'm going to be able to find their number. Paint colors by room, building permits, finishes, documents. So this is the Carfax for the home, if you will, and certainly an important part of the life cycle of real estate. And I have another slide on this in just a minute because it's going to come into, I think a question has come up is what's the evolution here with the binder being set up and then transferred to a new owner. We do other things. We do appliance recall notifications. So if an appliance is in, make and model, a recall notification will go out to that borrower. We're doing these weekly based on the Consumer Product Safety Commission website database. And often those cards only go to the owner or the previous owner, not the current owner. So in fact, Jillian was working with a customer last night on one of these. A home inventory in case of fire or theft. So here's just another feature inside the system underneath property details around home inventory. In this case, a number of things that you'd want to have recorded, and behind each one maybe a photo, details of a serial number. In this case, also a first floor video and a second floor video, but all organized in a way that you have access to it in the case of fire and theft. When you have not reported it, it's not like jewelry that you've already have as some rider on your insurance policy. Interestingly, when we first launched a number of years ago, this was the #1 reason why people found us organically, was for this. That's what they were looking for online. Cost basis reporting. So as you are logging receipts for projects that you may have done, you can flag them as capital expenditures. And when you do, you're able to, at any point in the system, build a new cost basis for your home. And you can see here, it's restoring my purchase price, how much has been put in. This is on my new cost basis for your accountant, also other people involved in the transaction. Binders being transferred. So yes, it's built into the system, the transfer process is, and it's done two ways. So think of two kind of most prototypical scenarios. One is, I am a aging parent. My son or daughter is getting my home. I want them to have my whole HomeBinder account. And I can transfer literally ownership of binder ID 1746253 to my child. Everything that's in it. Or if I am selling my home to an unknown stranger, if you will, I can just let them have all the data that's in the seller report in a new binder, which we would call a partial transfer. And so both options are true for different scenarios that could come up over time, where you were familiar with the buyer and where you were not familiar with the buyer. We already talked about this one a little bit, plus a bunch of other features. Homeowners can use their phones and take pictures of make and model plates like you see up here, and it will read that make and model plate and pull in the appliance details directly into the HomeBinder account. We talked about sharing, storing paint colors by room. We have an integration with a company called BuildFax. You can pull in building permits straight from electronic sources in with the permit ID, the permit date, the permit amount, the permit type, and even the contractor who pulled that permit. About 70% coverage across the country. In some cases, states like Florida, it's like 99%, but some older states where I live, like Massachusetts, the coverage is not as good. But there's the opportunity to do that. You get cost estimates from home inspection reports within the system if homeowners have that and they'd like to take that step forward. And so just a number of other kind of features I wanted to pull in. And again, I'm not trying to overwhelm, but I think the goal today was to go a bit broader in some of the detail of what HomeBinder can do for the homeowner. And hopefully 1, 2, 3 of these have resonated with you so they become part of that stump speech. A couple things to close out today, and then we'll get into some Q&A as I see we're at about 45. One thing is about Encompass. So you may have seen the Encompass logo up top. We do have a full-blown API integration that's certified with Ellie Mae ICE for Encompass users. And what this allows is for the binders not only to be set up automatically every night based on some milestone within the system, typically funding, but all the documents to be automatically loaded into HomeBinder and specific information about the loan amount, the interest rate, the loan term, so, and the loan officer and the real estate agent. So a binder can come in relatively fully formed from a mortgage perspective, fully automatically through this Encompass integration. We won't cover the details of it today. This is something we'd want to do one-on-one, but we'd have a call. We could go through this process. It's a relatively short setup. I mean, I did one yesterday that only took 35 minutes. It's not like other Encompass integrations you've gone through, provided I'm working with somebody that knows what they're doing, and building an API user. And then at that point, every time a loan hits, say, the funded milestone, the binder would be created automatically. Email goes out to the borrower, and then maybe 35 to 60 days later, another step comes through and pushes in other docs that weren't available at the point of the funding milestone. So if you're interested in that, let's have that conversation one-on-one, just to keep this call efficient today. But it was certainly one that came up. So here are the takeaways, and then we'll get into some questions. Going live, into next week. It's really important to leverage this HomeBinder message in both the selling and the loan process. We talked about that 4 steps. Those 2 steps up front in the process with real estate agents, with borrowers, up and through that sales process, and then deeper on in the cycle as it gets closer to the point of closing, when you're messaging to them and reminding them that they're getting this and it's on their way. The 3 things: finding a way to explain HomeBinder in a way that's comfortable to you, reminding them that there's no cost, they can't get it on their own, and this link is headed their way. And lastly, if you'd like to take us up on a one-on-one, if you're an Encompass user and want to go into that, please email alec@homebinder.com. We'll get something scheduled. My email is jack@homebinder.com, and I, love getting email, love talking, so I'm here to do one-on-ones as well. But Alec will be taking point on most of these calls, and I'll try to join everyone that I can. So with that, let's wrap this part of it and leave the last balance of the time here for questions.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, we can always we can bring them into chat too, to speak. But let me look at the chat here. Melissa, was there anything that you wanted to address specifically from the chat?
Yeah, it's looking like, so we had a question from Corey Bowman about MBS highway connections. I'm not sure. It's probably a pretty easy question for you, Jack, like whether or not you have some sort of MBS highway connection, but I'm also not really sure what kind of MBS highway connection there would be given the function of the 2 different products. Jack, would you like to answer specifically?
Yeah, I can say quite simply, we don't have one right now. There's not a connection, but that's one I would, I don't totally understand what it would be and how the functionality would provide. But let's handle that on a one-on-one.
Yeah. So Corey, if you have specific ideas about how you see MBS Highway and HomeBinder potentially working together, keeping in mind that HomeBinder is specifically like data about the home, then send it our way, and we'd be happy to talk to Jack about what we could potentially work on from a client experience perspective or from an internal functionality perspective.
There was a question about just percentage of clients that are taking up on the offer.
Can you talk about how the different ways clients can get data into their binder, Jack?
Yeah, definitely. So there's I'll talk about that first, and then we'll kind of come into some of the percentages, because I think there's important to understand those bookends. There's really 3 ways data gets into a binder. One is we pull as much as we can from publicly available sources. So BuildFacts would be an example of that. Adam Data would be an example of that, where we can pull in bedrooms, bathrooms, transaction details, permit data. The second way is through integration. So where we have integrations, data can come in from a variety of software platforms that are used by all these vertical markets surrounding home ownership. And then the third way is by the homeowner themselves. So we sort of view it as about 50 to 60% handled through data automation integration, and another 40-something% to be handled by the homeowner, with that percentage hopefully diminishing over time. We have journey stories right now where binders are being set up by a home inspector, and then additional data through integrations are being pushed in the mortgage industry. And ultimately, by the end of this year, I think some of those same binders will see another touch either in the service provider world or in the insurance world. So that's the integration story. From a percentage standpoint of homeowners taking up and going through this process, we see everything from high teens, low 20s to 80 to 92%. And just to use those two bookends, across the board, those three things I keep talking about are the bellwether of what's going to happen with borrowers. If those three things are said across the board, acceptance rates, I mean, we have some partners with acceptance rates as high as 98%, with them moving into the binder, and then 45-50% of those people really even moving forward and entering a lot of information. On the other end of the spectrum, we have partners that we find out really aren't doing any messaging, and a very low percentage of their people are accepting the HomeBinder and getting into it and doing anything at all. And I think that's the important part of the B2B2C business that we've established, is that we really view our business partners as being additional pulpits and echo chambers for our message, so that the homeowner understands the context of why this is important for their home ownership. Not just around peace of mind and home value, but ultimately someday they're probably going to want to sell this asset, and they're going to want to have it all together. It will make their life so much better if they do this process, and getting that explained to them has a high correlation as to where on the spectrum these folks are going to fall.
Thanks, Jack. We did have a related question on appraisals and inspections that aren't done through HomeBinder approved inspectors. Can those be like uploaded and scanned to fill out the binder at this time? Or does it have to be an inspector that's already a partner with HomeBinder in order to make that happen?
No, homeowners can upload any document they want. Some of them, any home inspection report can be processed through Repair Pricer. Right now, there's a fee structure for homeowners to do it, of $50 to basically take their home inspection report and just rip it and pull it into a 2-page cost estimate report if they'd like to do it. I think we'll be able to almost automate that down to the point of being able to cover that cost in the next couple of years. An example of it, I'll just give you a quick idea of how that works, because I think it's pretty fascinating. So here's a screen share. Let's go to this binder. So here's an example of that happening. Any old inspection report loaded into the system, then gets delivered. They get notified. They can do the import. They click here, and now here are all the itemized pieces from their home inspection report of all the things they could do, and pull these in as projects right into their HomeBinder account, and then go work to get them done. So this technology just continues to improve and improve, both in terms of speed and cost and accuracy across the board.
And Jack, what would that look like to fill out the home data section? So the part that is then turned into a seller's report. Is there any way to pull that data out of an appraisal?
There is not presently a way to pull that data out of the appraisal. The way that the data comes in now into the seller report is largely by pulling from various sections. So if there are whatever's been added by a homeowner, such as here with projects that have been done, these then can be pulled into a seller report.
So at this point, the unless the client is using an inspector with HomeBinder, they would be filling out their HomeBinder report themselves. And there is like a photo capture functionality for appliances where they can scan their appliance and get their appliance information in. But that data is manually captured at this point in time unless a HomeBinder like partnered inspector is used.
Yeah, that's right. And these are true home inspectors we're talking about in that world, not sort of a network of stringers, if you will, that would go into a home. And again, I think this is an area where there's, if any of you on the call have had sort of like successful experiences with that happening in a variety of ways, because I know it happens in a number of ways in some markets, there's no reason it can't continue to happen here, and we should have some conversation about executing on it. It's just this challenge of saying, like, we can do this at any home, anywhere, anytime, and give an experience to a homeowner that's going to match what we envision it being in our minds and what we're kind of telling them it's going to be. That's the gap. But the alignment is strong in the sense of, we don't want to make the homeowner do a lot of work. We want to find every efficiency we possibly can so that, and I used this term earlier on the call with somebody else yesterday, automagically, stuff is just kind of like appearing there. Like my insurance policy is just sort of here. My mortgage docs are here. My inspection report is just here. All my appliance stuff got registered. Ultimately, I think there's a big play with retail for us as we work with Lowe's and Home Depot. I just bought this appliance at Lowe's or Home Depot. The record of that should just kind of show up in my HomeBinder account automatically. And that is the direction that we think is achievable through technology and with integrations as they've proliferated so much over the last 5 years.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Jack. We're excited as those continued ways of making it easy for the homeowner are able to be developed. I think the last question is, can we have your slide deck?
Yes.
We were impressed with some of the visuals today, so we'd love to be able to share that with our partners so they can use it in their own presentations for clients. So since Jack said yes, we will have that out in the recap for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, there was actually one more. I think James had a few questions and he had his hand raised, so I was going to bring him in to talk quick.
Awesome.
Hey, James.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Hey, my questions were about HomeBinder users accessing servicers. You know, I was on the House Happy platform, and one of the ways I described it to people is sort of like Uber for home maintenance, where you just put a credit card in and you call the 1-800 number and say, I need some landscaping or I need a roofing, and they just like find work. They get bids and they schedule it for you, and then it's just in and out. Is there a component of that kind of service sourcing that HomeBinder can do?
Yeah, great question. There is. And candidly, it's a bit less white glove, but it does exist. So let's take a quick look at that. So the way that we look at it, James, is that there are networks of professionals that have been added to HomeBinder over time, and we have about 23,000 service providers in what we call the Home Pro network, and then there's another $250,000 in Thumbtack. A couple things to note about service providers in the system. Number one, we have not scraped any of these names. These are all names that have been added organically over time, and there's a bit of a LinkedIn first, second, third degree connections of which you're seeing even in an example binder. You're seeing some of those numbers kind of pop up here. So I get a sense of how connected I am to them. Our preference is for professionals to be promoted that are provided by the people providing HomeBinder. So most of these professionals have been added by home inspectors and real estate agents and mortgage lenders. In other words, their network of preferred pros, and they get promoted in the first category beyond what the homeowner might have added themselves. So effectively, everything you see in green added by professionals that I did business with that are giving me this HomeBinder account, namely, in this world, a real estate agent or a mortgage lender. And then I can go into the HomeBinder network and I can see a much broader network of people that were added by my neighbors, other home inspectors, other mortgage.
Gotcha. So
beyond and beyond. And sorry, Dr. And I'll just kind of close up by saying, and there's Thumbtack. So if I don't find somebody I need because I'm looking for some obscure service that people come up with, like I need somebody to deal with my dock at my boat ramp, whatever it is. There's a whole nother network of professionals here, or repointing a chimney. You could get into this network, but primarily we're looking to promote those that have first, second degree connections with the homeowner.
And so if we add service providers that we know, other people that jump in that have a HomeBinder in our marketplace will also see them as well.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then they can, of course, contact them straight through the system, getting quotes. And again, this is not white glove. I think directionally, that is something that people can execute on. We're watching the warranty companies most aggressively pursue this actually right now, beyond the likes of sort of the Angie's List, the Porches, the Home Advisors of the world. The warranty companies seem to do this better because they have these companies beholden to them. The challenge is, again, delivering an experience where they don't control the situation, which I think is why some of those big sites have struggled so much. In the Thumbtack network, if they can't, just as a roofer example, you can then just go actually right ahead and go to booking if you wanted to there. But we'd like to work with you on adding your networks of professionals. We have some ideas about how we need to make some improvements before we fully turn that on in a way that'll work well, but that's only weeks away.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. I mean, this one's near and dear to me, so I could talk about this one for a long time.
Okay, anything else?
I think we covered them. I think we're
Look at us,
good.
1:58 Eastern time.
That is perfect.
Thank you, really, everybody, and you, Melissa and Val and Stephanie, for setting this up and making this happen. Organizing this time. I know it's time out of people's day, but I mean it when I say how much we appreciate this opportunity and how much we value the chance to work with you individually, because it is a B2B2C company. We have to get this right. This is so important. And so if there's anything that you think is amiss, any questions you have, any marketing collateral you think that would be good, any best practices that you'd like to get into more depth on, we'd love to engage with you. And after this call, I'll send around the deck. I'll send around my email address, and I'll send around Alex booking in Calendly. So you'll have all those resources. And I'll come back to those three things. Figure out how to say and explain HomeBinder to your borrowers. Remind them it's no cost. They can't get it on their own. And that a link is coming, in some form of an email pretty shortly. Those are the things that, while it seems so pedestrian, it's literally often that blocking and tackling that when we get that right, all the other stuff starts to fall in line. But if we do that wrong, or it doesn't get said, then all the other stuff is so much harder to get done. And so that's really what we want to support.
Thank you so much, Jack. We're just so excited about partnering with you.
It's great.
And thankful for your time as well.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for jumping on. We will see you next week. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the support team, and we can get some time scheduled one-on-one with the HomeBinder team. They're here to answer your questions. As you can see, Jack is here to help. So thank you all for jumping on. Thank you, Jack, for your time today, and we will see you guys next week.